welcome to this explainer. I've got to tell you, I am absolutely thrilled to be your guide today. Working as an expert here at the Kulturhistorisk Museum, the Museum of Cultural History in Oslo, I get to see a lot of incredible artifacts. But every once in a while, something comes out of the ground that just completely shifts our understanding of the past. Today, we're unpacking a discovery so massive, it's literally rewriting the economic history of the Viking Age. We're going to dig into the real economic machinery of the Vikings. We're moving way past those old stereotypes of just raiders to reveal this highly sophisticated international network of trade. All right, let's dive right into this. 4,772. Now, this isn't just a handful of silver pieces dropped by some passing traveler. This is the staggering number of individual coins we've discovered so far in a single location. I really want you to sit with that awe-inspiring scale for a moment. Finding a dozen Viking coins, that's a great day for an archaeologist. Finding 4,772, that's the kind of discovery that makes a career. And frankly, it defines an entire era of historical research. Section 1. Norway's largest coin find, the Mørstad Hoard. Discovered back in April 2026 by two incredibly dedicated metal detectorists out in a field in Rena, Mørstadskatten, this is officially the largest coin find from the Viking Age in Norwegian history. For us at the museum, taking over this excavation was a total paradigm-shifting event. It really marks a new peak in Norwegian archaeology. To put it in perspective, the last time we saw a major Viking Age coin hoard found in Norway was way back in 1950. And the sheer scale of this hoard completely dwarfs those previous discoveries. The Mørstad Hoard actually contains more coins than the previous four largest Viking Age coin hoards combined. The runner-up, the Årstad Hoard found in the 1830s, had 1,849 coins. Dronningens Gate had about 964. So yeah, it's not just a record breaker, it's in a completely different league. Section 2. The time before national currency, decoding the coins. So the crucial question here is, what can these specific pieces of silver actually tell us about Viking society? Well, as researchers, we look at these coins as tiny, stamped data points. They show us exactly who was trading with whom in the time before a formalized national Norwegian currency even existed. Get this, a massive 95% of those 4,772 coins are foreign. They were specifically minted in kingdoms across what is now England and Germany. Only a tiny 5% sliver represents other or domestic origins. That's a fascinating anomaly, right? Almost all of the wealth buried in this Norwegian field came from entirely different countries. These were basically the primary international currencies of the era. And that tells us instantly that Mørstadskatten wasn't some isolated backwater. It was a deeply connected hub in a vast international trade network. To build out our historical context a bit, we estimate this hoard was buried right around the years 1046 or 1047. And that is a highly specific and incredibly important window of time, because it marks the very beginning of the reign of King Harald Hardrade. Why does that matter? Well, foreign currency completely dominated the Norwegian economy right up until Hardrade established a centralized national monetary system. So this hoard is essentially a snapshot of the very last moments of an economy entirely reliant on the flow of foreign silver right before the transition into the Norwegian Middle Ages. My colleague, Professor Sven Gullbeck, actually put it perfectly while standing right there in the field during the excavation. He said, "This smells like money. The coins are not clipped or damaged in any way." You see, in the Viking Age, people often chopped up silver coins to make smaller payments. We call it hack silver. But these coins, they're whole. They are pristine. And that lack of clipping is a massive clue for us. It tells us this wasn't just someone's daily pocket change or savings from selling a few sheep. Unclipped coins point to massive direct trade payments. We are talking about wholesale, industrial-level commerce here. Section 3. Iron. The Vikings' black gold. This is where we hit the central aha moment of our investigation. We know the wealth came from abroad, right? And we know it was a massive direct payment. But how did this immense international wealth end up buried in an inland Norwegian field? What were they selling that was so incredibly valuable to the kings of England and Germany? Why Rena? It's inland. It's deep in the Østerdalen Valley. If this was just Viking plunder brought back from a raid, you'd probably expect to find it closer to the coast, near the major fjords and shipping lanes. But it's way in the interior. When we ask ourselves what local resources existed in Østerdalen that could command such a staggering amount of foreign silver, all the evidence points to one very heavy, very crucial resource. The answer is iron.
In Österdalen, archaeological evidence shows massive industrial-scale iron extraction was taking place. They were producing a huge surplus, way more than they could ever use locally. Now contrast that with Denmark during the exact same period. Denmark had an enormous, insatiable demand for iron, but absolutely zero native iron production. They literally couldn't make it themselves. So when you put it all together, the Mørstad Hoard is essentially a giant 4,772-piece receipt for industrial-scale iron exports from Norway to the rest of Northern Europe. Iron was truly the black gold of the era. It fueled absolutely every aspect of the Viking Age. Think about it. You couldn't plow a field without iron agricultural tools. You couldn't build those famous longships without thousands of iron rivets. And you certainly couldn't wage war without iron swords, axes, and armor. By exporting this foundational material, the people of Österdalen generated immense wealth. And this really proves that the Vikings were highly sophisticated industrial producers and international merchants, not just the roaming raiders we so often see in popular culture.
Section 4. Why was the treasure buried?
Okay, so we've solved the economic mystery of how the wealth was generated. But now we need to shift our narrative from global economics to deeply personal human behavior. Imagine holding the equivalent of millions of dollars in silver in your own hands. What on earth drives someone to take that immense fortune, place it in the dirt, and just walk away? Within archaeology, we generally look at two leading theories here. On one side, we have the bank account Gary. The Viking world obviously didn't have bank vaults. If you wanted to keep your liquid assets safe from thieves or invading armies, the safest place was a secret hole in the ground, with the full intention of digging it back up when things cooled down. On the other side, we have the religious or ritual theory. This suggests the wealth was intentionally sacrificed to the gods or buried so the owner could access it in the afterlife.
While both theories definitely hold weight, history shows a pretty clear pattern. The more unrest a society experiences, the more treasures end up buried. And remember our timeline? 1046 was a highly volatile period. Harald Hardrad was aggressively consolidating power. So our researchers are actively investigating right now if there were specific local threats, political instability, or outright conflict in the Österdalen region around 1046 that forced this incredibly wealthy iron merchant to hide their fortune permanently, never to return for it. Section 5. The path forward for research.
The physical excavation by our team at the Coulter Historics Museum wrapped up in May, though we definitely plan to return to the site later just to ensure absolutely nothing was missed. But what happens to the treasure now that it's out of the ground? Let's walk through the meticulous process our experts follow in the lab. Step 1. Our numismatists, our coin experts, have to identify the origin, ruler, and period of every single coin. Step 2. Each coin is logged into our digital database, UNIS, with its exact GPS find coordinates. Step 3. We take high-resolution macro photography of both the front and back of the coin. Step 4. Conservators assess the condition, carefully cleaning and stabilizing the silver. And Step 5. Final sorting and archival packaging for safe storage. Now, none of these steps take very long on their own, but multiply this process by 4,772, and you're looking at thousands upon thousands of hours of painstaking scientific work.
Because of this massive undertaking, I do have to remind everyone that while an exhibition is absolutely planned so the public can marvel at this treasure, patience is required. Finding the treasure in the field was thrilling, for sure, but it's really only the first chapter. The true heavy lifting of rewriting Scandinavian economic history has just begun inside the museum walls. We owe it to history to get every single detail right.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If a single, unassuming field in Rena can yield a discovery that completely rewrites our understanding of Viking trade, industry, and international connections, what other lost histories are still waiting silently under the soil? The ground beneath our feet is a massive, unread archive. The Mørstad Hoard reminds us that the past is never fully settled, and the next great discovery could be just a few inches away. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep exploring.